Patrick McNeil back with you for another Around the CHL segment. This time we're looking at the Central Division in the WHL, a division including the Calgary Hitmen, Edmonton Oil Kings, Red Deer Rebels, Lethbridge Hurricanes, Medicine Hat Tigers, and the Swift Current Broncos. We are joined by the voice of the Edmonton Oil Kings, Corey Graham, and we like to highlight stories of players and maybe coaches in this feature, but Corey's story himself, in my opinion, is quite inspiring. Battling health issues to return to the broadcast booth. Corey, tell us a little bit about that before we go into the rest of the Central Division.
It's been a tough go. June of last year, I found a mass in my spine that required surgery, so it's been improving since then. I had surgery. I've been in a wheelchair for a while here. Working on getting better every day, but after being away last year, not being at the games very much and not following along, I was really itching to get back and start at least getting back into the swing of things a little bit. So now I'm doing games at home here in Edmonton. Andrew Peard's been filling in for me, and he's going to be doing the games on the road and doing color at home. It's been a long way to get back. It's a real nice arrangement we have right now, and I'm just kind of focused on kind of getting all the way back here, but definitely like being involved once again in the hockey world.
Very inspiring story. I encourage people to read up on it. And before we go on to talking about Central Division teams, what's the response been to your return to the broadcast booth? Big win for the Oil Kings in your first game back.
Yeah, a couple wins. My first couple games back, it was fantastic, obviously, to see that happen. And the Oil Kings have been great so far this year. I tell you how small the hockey world is, just the amount of texts and calls and Twitter mentions and all that stuff of people reaching out and showing support. It's been overwhelming, to be honest, Patrick. It's been amazing to me how many people I haven't talked to for years all of a sudden have reached out and sent a note. So it's been really cool. I'm glad to be back. I'm kind of glad that first step's over with now. I kind of focus on just doing the hockey, but I was really overwhelmed with the amount of support.
Yeah, hockey world full of great people. This will be one of the interviews I'm happiest to do, and hopefully this will help you by getting back into the groove by talking about hockey. The Central Division, your Oil Kings obviously off to a strong start. Was this expected? Who are considered to be the front runners in this division?
Expectations, I think, are for the Oil Kings to be one of the teams. They won the division last year, and I think it was a bit of a surprise last year that they ended up on top. They had a big winning streak at the end of the season last year to solidify that top spot. I think it's going to be a battle. I think this division's really good. You look at the Calgary Hitmen, they're a veteran-laden team that was kind of step for step with Edmonton last year, and they're going to be right in the mix. They're off to a nice start this year. Medicine Hat's always good. They're always such a fast, well-organized team. They play really up-tempo brand of hockey, so I think they'll be in the mix. And obviously, the Willie Desjardins back there running the ship, I think it's been fantastic for them. And I wouldn't count out the Lethbridge Hurricanes as well. I think they're a team that's going to be sort of right in that mix for most of the season. So I think the Central Division's really good. The Oil Kings off to a great start, just won a regulation loss through 12 games.
Interesting looking at the Central Division. 4 different players who play in this division attending Team Canada's summer evaluation camp for the World Juniors. You have Calen Addison and Dylan Cousins, both of the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Cousins a first-round draft pick of Buffalo, while Addison a second-round draft pick of Pittsburgh. Then you look at 2 players from the Calgary Hitmen, Jet Wu and Calgary Folks. Jet Wu, a draft pick of the Vancouver Canucks. Folks drafted a little bit later in the 5th round, also by Vancouver. Looking at this group, do these guys have a chance to make the World Juniors?
I would think so. I mean, Calen Addison, Dylan Cousins, I think for sure will be in the mix. I think they're guys that have a legit chance to make that team. Obviously, Cousins coming off an injury this summer after he was drafted and in mini camps and stuff like that. So he's returned and had a pretty good start to his season. Calen Addison's a great puck-moving defenseman. He's fun to watch. Kind of reminds me of some of the throwbacks, the glory years of the Portland Winterhawks. You look at guys like Derek Pouliot and guys that can really move the puck around, really involved in the power play, and then can defend as well. So I think those 2 guys should be in the mix. Jet Wu is another guy that he's been in this league for a long time now, and he's been moved on to the Calgary Hitmen from Moose Jaw. I think will be in the mix. Carson Folks, maybe a bit of a longer shot, but again, guy that's come a long way in his WHL career and has really found a home with that Calgary team. He scores some big goals, so they'll probably all be in the mix, but those first 3 guys I think have more of a legit shot, but hey, you never know what happens in the first half of the season. Guys get hot and guys go down to that camp in December and can find their way onto that team.
Now, for those of us who followed the other leagues from afar, sometimes it's actually the coaches that are the biggest names, and 2 in particular in your division. Brent Sutter, the Red Deer Rebels, famous hockey player both for his days in the NHL and coaching in junior, and Willie Desjardins, who used to coach in Medicine Hat, went to the NHL for a long time, and now is back in Medicine Hat. Tell us about those 2 behind the bench, and also recently a big milestone for Brent Sutter with his 500th win behind the Rebels bench.
Brent Sutter, he's fantastic. He's such an old school guy. You know, when you think of the Sutters, he is that guy during the hockey season. When you get him away from hockey and you can chat with him away from the game, he's one of the greatest people to talk to. The stories he has, and him and his whole clan, really. If you talk to any of them away from the game, they're out milking cows or whatever they're doing on the farm, it's always a good time. And he's run that Red Deer program for a long, long time. Had some ups and downs. It's a bit of a younger team this year, a bit more of a challenge for them to find their footing. Of course, hosted the Memorial Cup a few years back, so they're kind of in that cycle of rebuilding since then. Willie Desjardins coming back to Medicine Hat, it's a huge story. Obviously, it was a huge part of that Tigers team for years. moves on to the National Hockey League, has a couple opportunities, different spots, goes to the Olympics with Canada. And his resume speaks for itself. I think he's a great hockey mind. And I think coming back to Medicine Hat after things didn't work out for him at the pro level, ultimately it's a perfect fit and slides us right back in. They move on from Sean Clouston, who was there a long time between Willie Desjardins' occupation behind the bench. And it almost seems like business as usual for the Tigers. They have a certain brand of hockey, and I mentioned they play that up-tempo, real fun to watch. And Willie being back there is just going to kind of continue that success for Medicine Hat.
Talking about Medicine Hat as well as Calgary, a few milestones in the division this year. Medicine Hat celebrating its 50th season, Calgary celebrating its 25th. I know Calgary's doing a Bret Hart night for prostate cancer. They're part of the outdoor game in Regina, broadcasting a game in Punjabi. All kinds of things, it seems, going on for the Hitmen. What about these celebrations for the Tigers and the Hitmen? Anything else that's kind of catching your eye there of some of these rival teams?
Calgary seems to be, they're all over social media and stuff with what they're doing for the 25th anniversary. And I think it's a lot of fun when you get to a milestone like that. And they've obviously had some success in there. Gosh, it's hard to believe it's in 25 years already for the Hitmen. But the Tigers, I haven't seen as much, and maybe that's just because in Edmonton or whatever, but 50 years, and it's fantastic for them. And they've always been such a storied team. You go to that old Medicine Hat arena where they played for years and years and years and just have the feeling of a small town hockey environment. And I always loved going to Medicine Hat. The new building, it's definitely nicer there. It doesn't have the same feel, I don't think, as of yet. Maybe they need some more playoff success in that new building. But you look at the players they've had, the people that have gone through that organization, and I'm sure you, Patrick, you've had the chance to chat with Bob Ridley.
Absolutely.
He's done every game but one in their history. And I mean, they've been around for 50 years. The man is incredible. So he's full of stories. And I'm looking forward to seeing him on Friday night for sure.
And Bob Ridley drove the bus of the Medicine Hat Tigers for a number of years, in addition to being the play-by-play guy. So truly a man of many talents. And that was part one of my conversation with Corey Graham, play-by-play man of the Edmonton Oil Kings, looking at the WHL Central Division. We'll have part two on Saturday. You're listening to the intermission of Carstar, K-Breton Eagles Hockey, 1270 CJCB.